We would like to present the newly revised Employee Handbook. This handbook was developed to describe some of our employees' expectations. It also outlines the policies, programs, and benefits available to eligible employees. We have made some changes to existing policies and created updated policies appropriate for our current culture. Employees should familiarize themselves with the Employee Handbook as soon as possible. This will answer many questions about employment at the family residential care home. If you have questions, comments, or concerns regarding this handbook, please contact the administrator/CEO and/or Human Resources. Purpose Statement: The Family Residential Care Home, where quality of care matters. Our vision, values, and mission. The Family Residential Care Home's vision is to be a safe, supportive, and personalized home-like environment for individuals striving for an independent, happy well-being. Our staff's values encompass compassion and dedication to provide patient-centered care. It is our mission to provide an unparalleled experience not only for the residents, but for the family members of the residents as well. The Family Residential Care Home's overall goal is to inspire hope and to contribute to the quality of care for our residents. Core values. The drivers of our success are the values which we profess and practice. Entrepreneurial spirit. We support and encourage individual and group efforts that inspire and enthuse employees for the benefit of the TFRCH. We support taking chances and respect people's freedom to try new things, fail, recover, and succeed. Doing my best. In the views of our clients, employees, partners, and rivals, we aspire to be regarded as the market leader. We continually put our coworkers and ourselves to the test and support innovation, change, and fresh ideas. Teamwork. We are a diverse group of individuals who understand that our greatest asset is our ability to work together. We value open communication, constructive criticism, and a climate of respect and cooperation amongst all parties. Execution. We are firm believers in controlling and carrying out our duties so that everything is done correctly the first time. The first step in completing our task is making the best decision. You must act morally if you want to be successful. Integrity and honesty. Our continued success will be rooted in honesty and integrity. We will not jeopardize our ethics or values by lowering our demands or expectations. Manual purpose. This manual attempts to communicate, clarify, and update employment rules and policies, along with other significant personnel-related information, in a convenient format for our employees. This manual is presented to you for informational purposes only. No part of the handbook or of any other document or information creates or implies any kind of contractual commitment or promise to any employee. This prevents the TFRCH from terminating any employee relationship at any time with or without prior notice. This is except as otherwise required by law. It is intended as a guideline to the rules, policies, and procedures of the family residential care home. Of course, no effort has been made to include all matters related to your employment in this manual, since it would be impossible to cover all work-related issues and circumstances. It is your responsibility to read, understand, and follow this handbook. At times, the TFRCH may deem it beneficial to revise, modify, or eliminate, in whole or in part, the rules, policies, or procedures or benefits set forth in this manual. However, such changes may be inappropriate for inclusion in this manual or occur between printings. Such matters, therefore, may be communicated through bulletins or announcements issued on an as-needed basis, which are as much the TFRCH's policy as if printed in this manual. In all cases, the administrator/CEO's decision will be final with respect to the establishment, administration, or modification of such rules, policies, or benefits. We hope that you find this manual to be a useful guide. Guide. Business Ethics and Conduct. The successful business operation and reputation of the family residential care home is built, TFRCH, upon fair dealing and ethical conduct of our employees. The family residential care home, the TFRCH, reputation and integrity are valuable assets vital to the TFRCH's success. Each employee is responsible for conducting the family residential care home's business in a manner that demonstrates a commitment to the highest standards of integrity. This policy focuses employees on areas of ethical risk, provides guidance to help employees recognize and deal with ethical issues, provides mechanisms for employees to report unethical conduct, and fosters a culture of honesty. Scrupulous regard for the highest standards, accountability, and integrity among employees. An ethical employee's thoughtful behavior cannot be replaced by a code of conduct. Dishonest or unethical conduct or illegal conduct will violate this policy. This is regardless of whether the policy specifically addresses such conduct. The TFRCH will comply with all applicable laws and regulations and expects its executives, managers, and employees to conduct business in accordance with the letter, spirit, and intent of all relevant laws and to refrain from illegal, dishonest, or unethical conduct. Obeying the law, both in letter and in spirit, is the foundation upon which the TFRCH's ethical standards are built. All employees must respect and obey the laws, rules, and regulations of the city and state in which the TFRCH operates. The TFRCH expects all employees to comply with these policies and procedures, and each employee will be held accountable for such compliance. An employee who learns of or suspects that a violation has occurred or is likely to occur should immediately notify the administrator/CEO. Employees who report violations or suspected violations in good faith will not be subject to retaliation of any kind. Reported violations will be promptly investigated. Equal employment opportunity. The Family Residential Care Home, TFRCH, is an equal opportunity employer and does not unlawfully discriminate against employees or job applicants on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, disability, veteran status, or any other legally impermissible status or factor. TFRCH selects employees based on skills, experience, training, character, and other relevant factors. The TFRCH will provide reasonable accommodation for known physical or mental disabilities for qualified applicants or employees as required by applicable laws. Any employee who feels he/she has not been treated fairly and impartially regarding employment will be offered an opportunity to discuss this problem. This will be done by the administrator/CO or human resources. It is much easier to discuss, investigate, and settle such matters while the facts are still fresh in one's mind. The TFRCH will investigate any problems immediately. TFRCH administrator/CO is responsible for ensuring that the policies and procedures outlined herein will continue to be adhered to in his or her areas of responsibility. In addition, the administrator/CO should ensure that all present and future employees of the TFRCH are aware of and familiar with this policy. Status of employment, employment at will. The Family Residential Care Home employees are at-will employees. This means that there is no contract or promise, whether express or implied, regarding employment between employees and the Family Residential Care Home. Employees are free to terminate their employment with the Family Residential Care Home at any time, and the Family Residential Care Home is free to terminate an employee's employment at any time for any reason, at the sole discretion and option of the TFRCH unless otherwise required by law. No manager or representative of the Family Residential Care Home has the authority to enter into an agreement with an employee contrary to the employee at-will concept. Employment classifications. The Family Residential Care Home intends to clarify employment classification definitions so that employees understand their employment status and benefit eligibility. These classifications do not guarantee employment for any specified period, and the right to terminate the employment relationship at will at any time is retained by both the employee and the TFRCH. Regular full-time employees. Scheduled to regularly work 40 hours or more per week for an indefinite period after successfully completing the introductory period. Regular part-time employees. Scheduled for less than 40 hours per week for an indefinite period after successfully completing the introductory period. Temporary employees. Employees hired as interim replacements to temporarily supplement the workforce or assist in the completion of a specific project. This is either on a regular or part-time basis. This classification also includes on-call employees who are available to work as needed. Employment assignments in this category are limited. Employment beyond any initially stated period does not imply a change in employment status. Temporary employees retain that status unless and until notified of a change. While temporary employees are eligible for all legally mandated benefits, such as Social Security and workers' compensation, they are ineligible for other TFRCH benefit programs. Note: temporary employees should not be confused with independent contractors who are not employees of the TFRCH. Exempt versus non-exempt employees. TFRCH employees are classified as exempt and non-exempt employees under the Fair Labor Standards Act overtime pay requirements. Professional, executive, and administrative personnel are exempt salaried employees who do not receive overtime compensation. With certain exceptions, personnel primarily engaged in other work functions generally are non-exempt employees. Non-exempt employees receive overtime pay at a rate of 1.5 times their regular hourly rate for working more than 40 hours in any work week. Overtime will be paid for hours worked over 40 in any work week by hourly and salaried non-exempt employees, according to applicable state and federal legislation. Non-exempt employees may not perform overtime work or any other work outside of their scheduled work hours without the prior approval of the administrator/CEO. Work environment. The TFRCH believes that our employees are our most valuable asset and that everyone deserves a safe and healthy place to work. The TFRCH provides all employees with a work environment free from all forms of violence, harassment, threats, coercion, and intimidation. The TFRCH's position is that violence, harassment, threats, coercion, and intimidation are forms of misconduct which undermine the employment relationship. No employee should be subjected to violence, harassment, threats, coercion, or intimidation, whether verbal or physical. This interferes with work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Such behavior will result in disciplinary action, including termination of employment. The policy applies to conduct that occurs on TFRCH time or on TFRCH premises or conduct that occurs off TFRCH time and off TFRCH premises. This is when it adversely affects the work environment. Complaints should be submitted in writing to the administrator/CEO or human resources. The TFRCH will ensure that all reports are thoroughly investigated and, when appropriate, corrective action will be taken. In addition, the TFRCH will assist with criminal prosecution when appropriate. Confidentiality will be maintained during all investigations. However, the findings of the TFRCH's investigation may be reported to the employee who filed the complaint. Employee concerns. We are concerned about your personal welfare and encourage you to bring any problems or conflicts to the attention of your administrator/CEO. Open door policy. At some time or another, you may have a complaint, suggestion, or question regarding your job, your working conditions, the treatment you are receiving, etc. Your suggestions for improving the TFRCH's operations are always welcome. Your complaints or questions are also important to the TFRCH. You are encouraged to contact your Family Residential Care Home Administrator/CEO or Human Resources directly. Issues of a personal nature or those relating to your employment or benefits may be directed to your administrator/CEO. Harassment. The Family Residential Care Home provides all employees with a work environment free from unlawful harassment or discrimination. This policy includes any unlawful harassment based upon race, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, disability, or any other legally impermissible status. Persons violating this policy will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including discharge. Any employee who feels subjected to unlawful harassment is urged to immediately contact the administrator/CEO or human resources. Sexual harassment deserves special mention. According to guidelines published by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, unlawful sexual harassment includes unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature, or based on gender or sex, when submission to such conduct can be either explicitly or implicitly as a term or condition of employment. Submission to or rejection of such conduct by an individual is used as a basis for employment decisions affecting such individual, or such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Unlawful harassment may include, without limitation, verbal slurs, negative stereotyping, hostile and demeaning acts, including jokes or teasing, and written or graphic material, including, but not limited to pictures, posters, or calendars, showing animosity, aversion, or disparagement toward an individual or a group based upon race, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, or disability. The Family Residential Care Home will not permit or condone unlawful harassment of or by any TFRCH employee on TFRCH property, business, or activity or in connection with TFRCH employment. Any employee who wants to report an incident of unlawful harassment should promptly report the matter to the administrator/CEO. Employees can raise concerns and make reports without fear of reprisal. All reported incidents will be investigated promptly and with appropriate confidentiality. If an employee is not sure of a situation involving harassment, immediately contact your administrator/CO and/or human resources. Any employee who becomes aware of possible unlawful harassment should promptly contact the administrator/CO and/or human resources department. This department will investigate the matter in a timely manner and with appropriate confidentiality. Hours of operation. The administrator/CO will determine starting and quitting times consistent with production requirements. Employees will receive time and 1/2 for hours worked over the required limits in compliance with state and federal law. Employees will be required to work any and all overtime as shall be determined by administrator/CO. Employees who are put on light duty status by their physician should not be scheduled to work any overtime or on off days. These employees are recovering from an illness or injury and should not experience the stress of extra working hours. Please note, overtime not required or requested by the TFRCH will not be paid unless approved by the administrator/CO. Overtime. Work schedules have been established based on TFRCH and individual department requirements. If your established work schedule is changed, your administrator/CO will give you as much notice as possible. In order to allow for a short rest from normal duties, TFRCH allows reasonable paid break periods based on work schedules. Each employee is responsible for her own time records. Payroll processing and timesheets. Payroll is processed every 2 weeks and paychecks are distributed by direct deposit. For newly hired employees, the following paperwork must be completed and received by the payroll department before those employees will receive a paycheck. Application for employment. Personnel information form. W-4 federal and state tax form. Government form I-9, verifying the identification and citizenship of the employee. These forms will remain in the employee's file. Your paycheck will include a pay stub showing your total earnings and deductions. Examine your paycheck carefully, and if there are any discrepancies, notify your administrator/CO immediately. All changes must be approved by your administrator/CO. The payroll administrator cannot approve any changes to your paycheck. Payroll deductions. State and federal government regulations require certain deductions from your earnings each pay period. Social Security and federal and state taxes are examples of deductions. Contact your administrator/CEO if your deductions are problematic. Timesheets. Employees will be furnished with a link to the electronic weekly timesheet that must be completed upon arrival and departure from TFRCH's campus each scheduled workday. It is your responsibility to accurately record your start and end time each workday to ensure your timesheet is correct. Your administrator/CO approves all hours worked, including overtime. If your timesheet is incorrect, your paycheck may be short. If you suspect a discrepancy, please see your administrator/CO. Upon approval of your administrator/CO, appropriate pay adjustments will be made to your next paycheck. You should not sign in more than 5 minutes before your regular shift begins or punch out more than 5 minutes after your shift ends. Employees leaving the facility before the end of their regular shift must receive permission from their administrator/CO before punching out. If you forget to complete your timesheet, notify your administrator/CO or Human Resources immediately. Completing another employee's timesheet is a violation of TFRCH policy and will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Change in status. It is of great importance to employees and to the TFRCH that accurate records are kept for purposes of government reports and prompt notification in cases of emergency. You should contact your administrator/CO and Human Resources if any of the following changes: name, address, phone number, marital status, number of dependents, citizenship status, city tax status, and federal and state income tax exemptions. 60-day employment period. The first 60 days of continuous employment will constitute a new employee's training period. This is the time when the employee learns her responsibilities and becomes acquainted with fellow employees. During this time, the employee will have an opportunity to decide whether she is, and will be happy with the job. The administrator/CO will determine whether the employee can perform the job assigned in a satisfactory and acceptable manner. The employee follow-up process should be followed during this period. A new employee follow-up process has been established to ensure that all new employees are on track in their assigned role and understand their responsibilities. The process ensures that the administrator/CO is providing necessary feedback and guidance and counseling the new employee regarding their performance. Please note, the new employee follow-up process coincides with the training period for all employees. Neither service during the training period nor the successful completion of the newly hired employee follow-ups changes the status and/or obligations related to employment at will. Performance evaluations. Performance evaluations will be given semi-annually. Performance evaluation recognizes employees' strengths and weaknesses. This evaluation also provides an opportunity for you and your administrator/CO to discuss progress and set goals for future performance. Other evaluations, written and oral, may be performed as needed at the administrator/CO's discretion. Performance evaluations ensure feedback and proper recognition. During the evaluation, your administrator/CO will point out your strengths and weaknesses as well as areas for improvement. You're encouraged to be open and constructive in any comments you have. Workplace policies. Confidentiality of information. The Family Residential Care Home is an ethical organization. Therefore, all records and information relating to TFRCH or its customers and partners are confidential and employees are expected to handle them accordingly. Confidential information includes, but is not limited to, plans, designs, software, computer files, specifications, price lists, lists of clients and suppliers, correspondence, manuscripts, records, documents, accounts, or any other property of TFRCH or any client of TFRCH. A TFRCH employee should use caution when disclosing confidential information to anyone outside the organization. Furthermore, confidential contents may not be removed from the TFRCH's premises without permission from the administrator/CO of TFRCH. The Family Residential Care Home also strictly prohibits the use and/or knowledge of other competitors' confidential information as stated above. Employees or contractors of TFRCH should not use and/or disclose confidential information owned by other organizations while conducting TFRCH business. Employees have ethical and legal obligations not to disclose confidential information, both while employed by TFRCH and after leaving employment with TFRCH. Willful or involuntary violation of this policy may result in appropriate disciplinary action up to and including termination. Employees who are unsure about the confidential nature of certain items should consult with their administrator/CEO for clarification. Corrective Action Policy. The Family Residential Care Home expects its employees to meet performance expectations and conduct themselves in accordance with its standards of conduct. In addition, it expects them to comply with other applicable policies and procedures. Employees who fail to meet performance expectations or engage in unacceptable conduct shall be corrected. The Family Residential Care Home, TFRCH, does not adhere to any formal discipline system, but considers various factors such as the gravity of the violation, the number of times a rule has been violated, the type of rules violated, and the employee's overall performance when deciding how or when to issue corrective action. Corrective action is considered part of the employee's total performance. Therefore, for continued infractions whether in one category or distinct and multiple categories, the employee's performance is viewed with all the infractions in mind. Where there are multiple infractions within a short time frame, all infractions will be outlined in one corrective action document. The following progressive disciplinary process may be utilized to improve performance and address employee conduct issues. First offense, verbal warning. Second offense, first written warning. Third offense, final written warning. Fourth offense, immediate termination. While the use of progressive disciplinary steps is recommended, it is not required, and the TFRCH reserves the right to take any corrective action it deems appropriate based on the facts and circumstances of each case. Corrective actions will remain in an employee's personnel file but will expire after 12 months and will no longer be considered when evaluating overall performance with the exception of egregious or willful misconduct that resulted in a corrective action. This policy is not intended to and should not be construed as and does not create an employment contract. Further, it does not limit or modify the TFRCH's right to terminate your employment or alter the terms and conditions of your employment. This is at any time and for any reason with or without cause. The TFRCH may, of course, terminate employment without following the progressive discipline steps outlined above. This is whenever it determines such action is warranted. Severe misconduct does not require progressive discipline and is grounds for immediate termination. Examples of severe misconduct are found in the TFRCH's Workplace Conduct Policy. Employees are expected to meet our standards of performance, professionalism, and conduct and follow our work rules. Any improper conduct or violation of the work rules may warrant disciplinary action, up to and including termination. Absenteeism and tardiness. Regular and punctual attendance is expected from each employee in order to maintain effective operation of each department. However, we understand that everyone has times when they will be absent from or tardy for work. The intent of the absenteeism and tardiness policy is to establish a reasonable level of absenteeism and tardiness. Tardiness. Reporting to work after your assigned starting time or leaving work earlier than your scheduled time. For example, if your start time is 7 a.m. and you punch in at 7:15 a.m., you will be considered tardy. Absence. Missing more than 5 hours of your assigned time in one day or missing a full day. Employees must report an unscheduled absence or tardiness to the administrator/CEO as soon as possible. However, they must report it at least 1/2 an hour before the employee's normal scheduled arrival time. The majority of absenteeism and or tardiness can be planned in advance, i.e., doctor's visits, appointments, and meetings. In these situations, employees should first try to arrange appointments during non-working hours. If this is not possible, you must request permission to have time off at least 2 weeks in advance. In situations where the administrator/CEO cannot grant permission due to workloads, previously scheduled vacations, etc., Every attempt should be made to reschedule your appointment to a time more suitable for your administrator/CEO. Excessive tardiness and absenteeism. Your administrator/CEO or manager will monitor employee attendance and tardiness. To promote a productive operation, employees should not have more than two unexcused tardies or absences per month. Disciplinary action, up to and including termination, will commence after the second unexcused tardy or absence follows. Verbal warning, second tardy or absence in a 1-month time period. Written warning, fourth tardy or absence in a 2-month time period. 3-day suspension without pay, sixth tardy or absence in a 3-month time period. Termination, any unexcused time more than the above. Employees with excessive absence and or tardiness will be subject to the disciplinary action schedule above unless the situation is deemed an emergency. Emergency situations include, but are not limited to hospitalizations, death in the family, etc. Breaks. The Family Residential Care Home recognizes the importance of allowing employees rest and meal breaks so that she may recharge and re-energize to give her maximum effort every day. As such, the TFRCH has implemented the following rest break and meal policies. Rest break. All employees are permitted a 10-minute paid rest break for each 4-hour work period. Breaks are not permitted at the beginning or end of the workday due to set arrival and departure times. Employees who voluntarily work through their rest breaks will not be paid additional compensation as the TFRCH already considers this time to be compensated. Meal breaks. All employees who work 6 or more hours a day must take an unpaid/uninterrupted meal break of 30 minutes. All employees who work 12 or more hours a day must take an unpaid/uninterrupted meal break of 1 hour, 60 minutes. This should be taken towards the middle of her shift. Meal breaks are not counted toward hours worked as the TFRCH strives to completely relieve employees of all duties during their meal breaks. If a non-exempt employee performs any work duties while on his or her unpaid meal break period, the employee must record this time on her time record, and the TFRCH will consider this as time worked. Meal break enforcement. Non-exempt employees are expected to take meal and rest breaks in accordance with this policy. The administrator/CO is expected to make meal periods and rest breaks available to employees in accordance with this policy. The administrator/CO can schedule meal periods and rest breaks for their employees, taking into account operational requirements and needs. Employees who fail to return on time from breaks or lunch will be subject to disciplinary action and pay docking for time missed. Paid time off, vacation/PTO. The Family Residential Care Home promotes a healthy work-life balance. We encourage everyone to take time off for proper rest and recuperation or to handle personal situations that may arise. To support this, TFRCH provides paid time off, PTO, for employees. PTO combines days off traditionally set in fixed increments, such as vacation and personal leave into one account that employees can use for vacation, sick days, doctor's visits, emergency situations, etc. To maintain our position as the leader in our market, communication and collaboration are keys to our continued success. To do this, we need to work side by side. Below is the PTO schedule for full-time employees. Length of service PTO amount. 1 to 2 years, 3 days. 3 to 5 years, 5 days. Asterisk note, an employee becomes eligible for PTO after the first consecutive 12 months of full-time employment at the TFRCH. Scheduled vacation/PTO. Except for an illness or emergency, employees can request PTO time by completing the time off request form. When requesting scheduled PTO, employees should give their administrator/CO 2 weeks notice. All completed request forms should be forwarded to the administrator/CEO for review and approval. Approvals will be granted at the administrator/CEO's discretion for business needs. Please note, PTO time may be taken in 15-minute increments. Scheduling and tracking PTO time. All PTO days should be approved and tracked by the employee and the administrator/CEO. If an employee exhausts their allotted PTO days for the year, employees may request additional days taken as unpaid. This option is on the PTO request form. Unpaid time-off requests must be approved by the administrator/CEO. Unscheduled PTO. When unable to report to work due to personal illness or other unexpected reasons, the employee should contact his or her administrator/CEO immediately to report the nature of the problem and the expected return to work date. In cases of prolonged absence, it is suggested that the employee call in from time to time. This will keep his or her administrator/CEO updated on the expected return to work date. Employees must submit a completed PTO/leave form when returning to work. Unused time. Employees should try to utilize all of their allotted PTO time during the calendar year. This is because, except in special circumstances, any unused PTO time will be forfeited and will not roll over to the following calendar year. Where special business necessities require an exception, your administrator/CEO must approve it. In addition, employees will not receive monetary payment for unused PTO days. PTO and separation of employment. There is no reimbursement for unused PTO time at the time of separation from employment. Submission of doctor's slips. Anyone returning to work from an absence who has a written excuse for that absence must have the paperwork delivered to the administrator/CEO within 24 hours. A doctor's excuse for absenteeism must address each day the employee has been absent from work at the family residential care home. In the event that the doctor's slip does not address each day, these days will not be excused. It is the employee's responsibility to see their doctor and submit the paperwork on time. Return to work following accidents. If you are absent from work due to an occupational or non-occupational injury or illness, then the family residential care home may require you to submit a satisfactory physician's release to work form prior to returning to work, regardless of your period of absence, e.g., 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, etc. The family residential care home may require an employee to be examined by a qualified physician. This is to verify the employee's ability to return to work and/or any restrictions on working. Anyone who is instructed by their doctor to be on restrictive duty, light duty, while working at the family residential care home is required to submit that doctor's slip indicating those restrictions within 24 hours prior to their next scheduled workday. This regulation applies to both personal and work-related injuries. Job abandonment. If an employee is absent three consecutive working days and has not called his or her administrator/CEO to explain the reason for the absence, TFRCH will consider the employee to have abandoned his or her job. The only exception would be a signed document from a reputable physician or another appropriate individual, depending upon the circumstances, satisfactorily explaining the impossibility of the employee not notifying the TFRCH of their absence. Safety. The family residential care home is committed to the safety of its staff, property, and equipment. To this end, we will incorporate a safety program into our daily activities. Disregard of TFRCH safety rules and regulations will result in disciplinary action, including termination. It is necessary that the TFRCH establishes safety rules and regulations to be observed by all employees at all times. With regard to these rules, the following will be considered standard procedure for all employees. Should a safety regulation be modified so that an employee's safety is less than it should be, the employee should inform the administrator/CEO. All questions concerning the why for doing something in a certain manner may be asked of the administrator/CEO at any time. It is the responsibility of all employees and the administrator/CEO to see that every employee at the family residential care home is provided with safe working conditions. In addition, all safety regulations are observed by employees, as well as the use of common sense to protect themselves as well as others. The administrator/CO and DHEC will periodically inspect work conditions and suspend all work activity until an unsafe condition is corrected. Safety is about you. It is the responsibility of each employee to abide by the safety rules. These rules are made for your protection. Employees are expected to report any personal injury immediately, however minor, and all dangerous conditions and practices to the administrator/CO. Safety rules. First aid supply kits are provided in the work area. It is the administrator/CEO's responsibility to see that his kit remains well stocked. Know where the fire extinguishers are located. All defective materials or tools must be brought to the attention of the administrator/CO and not remain on the job. Wear clothes suited to the job. Do not wear open-toed shoes. Practice good housekeeping. Keep work areas clean and free from stumbling hazards, grease, etc. Learn to lift the correct way. Bend knees. Keep back erect. Get help for heavy loads. No scuffling or horseplay on the job. Do not allow raw materials, finished goods, or trash to be in walkways. Employees must be sure that their actions do not endanger other employees or damage TFRCH or personal property. Keep guards and protective devices in place at all times. Use tools only for their intended purposes. Do not use broken or dangerous tools. Do not attempt to operate special machinery or equipment without permission and instructions. Do not repair or adjust machinery while it is in operation. Never oil moving parts except on equipment fitted with safeguards for this purpose. Do not run in the work area. Reckless operation of equipment is not permitted. When operating turning equipment, such as drill press, etc., all loose hair shall be fastened securely or tightly covered by a scarf. Each person is required to dispose of any litter, such as coffee cups or trash upon leaving his or her work area. You are responsible for the cleanliness of your work area. Unnecessary conversation is prohibited where it causes production to fall off or causes hazards to personal safety on machinery requiring close attention or disrupts the work of others. Do not start or run a machine that you have not run before without supervision. Weapons in the workplace. The Family Residential Care Home is committed to providing a work environment that promotes the health, safety, and productivity of employees, vendors, contractors, visitors, and customers. We do this by maintaining a workplace that restricts the possession or use of weapons in the workplace. Food preparation workplace standards. If you work in the food preparation area, follow these additional guidelines. Jewelry is not allowed. Some examples include bracelets, rings, earrings, earplugs, watches, exposed face and body piercings, and necklaces. Exception to this include a simple wedding band with no stones, medical alert necklaces worn under clothing, medical alert bracelets when attached to apron strings or an apron pocket. Medical alert bracelets are not allowed to be worn around the wrist. Hair must be completely restrained by a hair netting. No bobby pins or excessive hair accessories are allowed. Facial hair must be netted. Fingernails must be clean and trimmed to prevent nails snagging or tearing into food. Nail polish and artificial nails must be covered with approved food processing gloves. Accident/incident reporting and investigation. Accidents are unplanned and unexpected events that cause injury, property damage, and/or financial loss at work. Incidents or near misses may not result in a loss but have the potential to do so. If you are involved in an accident or are injured at work, you must follow the below steps. Immediately report the injury or accident, however slight, to the administrator/CO and management. 2. Obtain and complete an accident/incident report form. Your administrator/CO will immediately investigate the situation and record all facts on the accident investigation report form. The administrator/CO will inspect the location where the accident occurred for any unsafe conditions that may have been attributed to the accident. The administrator/CO will secure the scene, placing equipment out of service if necessary and take photos. The administrator/CO will document your explanation of how the accident occurred and will question and document any witness statements from anyone who saw the accident take place. The administrator/CO will try to find any contributing factors to determine the accident's root cause. If an unsafe work condition was the cause, the condition will be corrected immediately. After all facts have been determined, the employee and the administrator/CO will discuss the report and how to avoid the situation in the future. After all facts are recorded, the employee and administrator/CO should sign the accident investigation report. The administrator/CO will file the accident investigation report in the employee's personnel folder. Failure to report an injury or accident immediately to the administrator/CO may be subject to disciplinary action. Inclement weather. Due to the nature of our business and in support of our residents, the Family Residential Care Home is committed to remaining open during inclement weather. Employees should make every reasonable effort to get to work or continue working while on TFRCH campus. Your safety is very important to us. Please use your best judgment in determining whether you should travel to the office during inclement weather. Quite often, severe weather conditions are localized. Simply by waiting, you may be able to safely arrive later than your normal scheduled time. Under these circumstances, you should inform your administrator/CO of your expected arrival time. Employees unable to report to work on inclement weather days will be expected to use paid time off, except when otherwise communicated by the administrator/CO. Cell phone. This policy outlines the use of cell phones, whether personal or TFRCH issued, as well as the TFRCH's policy on cell phones used by employees while driving. At the Family Residential Care Home, the TFRCH, we recognize that cell phones, especially smartphones, have become an integral part of everyday life. They may be an invaluable asset if used correctly, for productivity apps, calendars, business calls, etc., but cell phones may also cause problems when used imprudently or excessively. To promote a safe and productive work environment and increase employee and public safety, the intent of this policy is to refrain TFRCH employees from receiving or placing calls, text messaging, surfing the internet, receiving or responding to emails, and or checking for messages in front of TFRCH associates and customers, and to assure that the use of personal cell phones or similar devices does not in any way interfere with the TFRCH's food safety and sanitation standards, TFRCH security and controls, as well as customer service. Personal cell phones. Although we allow employees to bring their mobile cell phones to work, employees are expected to exercise discretion when using their cell phones. Excessive personal calls during the workday can interfere with employee productivity and distract others. Employees are encouraged to make personal calls during breaks, meal times, and other non-work time, and to ensure that friends and family members know about this policy. Employees must turn off their cell phones or set them to silent or vibrate mode during meetings, presentations, or training. This is while working with customers and in any other circumstance where incoming calls may distract or disrupt TFRCH's business. Employees are strictly prohibited from using cell phones for any other purpose, e.g., internet access, gaming, texting, listening to music, etc., during business hours. These functions may be used during scheduled breaks or lunch periods in non-working areas. The Family Residential Care Home will not be liable for personal cell phones lost at work. Employees are not authorized to use personal cell phones instead of TFRCH-issued cell phones unless authorized in advance by the administrator/CO or management. TFRCH-issued cell phones. When job duties or business needs demand it, the TFRCH may issue a business cell phone to an employee for work-related communications. Personal use of TFRCH-issued cell phones should be kept to a minimum. Employees in possession of TFRCH-issued cell phones are expected to protect equipment from loss, damage, or theft. Upon resignation or termination of employment or at any time upon request, the employee may be asked to produce the phone for return and inspection. Safety issues for cell phone use. All employees are expected to follow applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations regarding cell phones use at all times. Employees whose job responsibilities include regular or occasional driving and who are issued a cell phone for business use, or who utilize their personal cell phone as part of their duties, are expected to refrain from using any cell phone while on the road. Safety is important. Employees are never required to use a cell phone while operating a motor vehicle or driving. Regardless of the circumstances, including slow or stop traffic, employees are required to use hands-free devices or pull off to the side of the road and safely stop the vehicle before placing or accepting a call. Employees are encouraged to refrain from discussing complicated or emotional matters and keep their eyes on the road while driving at all times. Special care should be taken in situations where there is traffic or inclement weather, or the employee is driving in an unfamiliar area. Hands-free equipment will be provided with TFRCH-issued phones to facilitate this policy. Reading or sending text messages while driving is strictly prohibited. Employees who are charged with traffic violations resulting from the use of a cell phone while driving will be solely responsible for all liabilities that result from such actions. Video or audio recording devices. The use of a camera or other video or audio recording capable devices, including personal or TFRCH-issued cell phones equipped with this technology, is prohibited without the express prior permission of management and of the person subject to recording. Video or audio recording in restrooms and or bedrooms rooms, or other areas where someone expects privacy is strictly prohibited. Consequences for violator. Employees who violate this policy will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. Furthermore, cell phone usage, whether personal cell phones or TFRCH-issued cell phones for illegal, unethical, or dangerous activity, for purposes of harassment, intimidation, bullying, invading, and violating another person's privacy, will result in immediate termination. Driver Safety Policy. TFRCH car use. This policy ensures the safety of employees whose duties include driving for work, employee driver. It is the employee driver's responsibility to operate their vehicle and or the TFRCH's vehicle in a responsible manner. In addition, it is their responsibility to drive defensively to prevent injuries and property damage. As such, the Family Residential Care Home endorses all applicable state motor vehicle regulations relating to employee driver responsibility. The Family Residential Care Home expects each employee driver to travel in a safe and courteous manner pursuant to the following safety rules. The attitude you take behind the wheel is the single most critical factor in driving safely. Personal car use. Employees are only authorized to use their personal automobile if they have a valid driver's license and comprehensive and liability auto insurance. If not, the employee is not authorized to drive for the Family Residential Care Home. Note, any employee required to travel on behalf of the TFRCH, even for errands, must provide a copy of valid driver's license and proof of insurance to the administrator/CO. Employee driver guidelines. Only authorized employees may drive for TFRCH business defined as driving in the direction of or for the benefit of the TFRCH. It does not include normal commuting to and from work. Employee drivers must have a valid and current driver's license to operate a TFRCH vehicle or their personal vehicle with current, full coverage auto insurance. Employee drivers are expected to drive safely and responsibly and maintain a clean driving record. Management will review records, including accidents and moving violations, etc. To determine if an employee's driver's driving record indicates a pattern of unsafe or irresponsible driving, revocation of driving privileges may occur. Any employee who has a driver's license revoked or suspended must immediately notify the administrator/CO and/or management, no later than the next business day. Failure to do so may result in disciplinary action, up to and including termination. All accidents occurring while driving for the TFRCH, regardless of severity, must be immediately reported to the administrator/CO management from the scene the same day, or as soon as practicable if immediate reporting is not possible. Accidents resulting in employee personal injury must be reported to the administrator/CEO for workers' compensation purposes. Failing to stop after an accident and/or failure to report an accident may result in disciplinary action, up to and including termination. Employee drivers must report all ticket violations received while driving on TFRCH business within 72 hours to the administrator/CEO. Motor vehicle records will be obtained from all employee drivers prior to employment and annually while in a driving position. A driving record that fails to meet the following criteria or is in violation of the intent of this policy will result in a loss of TFRCH business driving privileges and may also result in termination of employment. 1. 2 or more moving violations in a year. 2. 2 or more accidents within a year where the employee driver is the primary cause of the accident. 3. Any combination of accidents and/or moving violations. Employee driver safety rules. Driving on TFRCH business while under the influence of alcohol, illegal drugs, or prescribed medication, which could impair employees' driving ability, is forbidden. Cell phone use while driving needs to be done using hands-free methods. Employee drivers are highly recommended to pull to the side of the road to talk on their cell phones. No driver shall operate a vehicle when her ability to do so safely has been impaired by illness, fatigue, injury, or medication, prescribed or over-the-counter. If an employee driver feels she is unable to operate a TFRCH or personal vehicle in the course and scope of their duties, she must immediately notify management that driving may be unsafe. All employee drivers operating a vehicle must wear seat belts, even if airbags are available. Non-employees and non-business passengers are prohibited from riding with employee drivers during TFRCH business. Conducting personal or other business that conflicts with driving on TFRCH time is prohibited. All state and local laws must be obeyed. Driver accident procedures. If an employee driver is involved in an accident, the following procedures must be followed. Call for medical aid if necessary. Record the names and addresses of the drivers, witnesses, and occupants of the other vehicles and any medical personnel who may arrive at the scene. Gather any pertinent information, including 1. License number of the other drivers. 2. Insurance TFRCH names and policy numbers of the other vehicles. 3. Make, model, and year of the other vehicles. 4. Date and time of accident. 5. Overall road and weather conditions. Do not accept responsibility for the accident. Do not argue over the accident. Provide the other party with your name, address, driver's license number, and insurance information. Take pictures of all vehicles with your cell phone, if possible. Take pictures of everyone's license, insurance policy, registration, etc., to the extent possible. Immediately report the accident to the administrator/CEO via the accident report form. Provide a copy of the accident report form no later than the next business day. The TFRCH is not financially responsible for damage to personally owned vehicles. General office practices. Workplace conduct. The Family Residential Care Home maintains certain standards of behavior for all employees. We feel you should be aware of these standards and understand the importance of conforming to them. The TFRCH reserves the right to establish and amend rules concerning unacceptable employee conduct or performance as conditions or circumstances may warrant. The following is a non-comprehensive list of examples of potential grounds for disciplinary action, up to and including immediate discharge, based upon the nature and frequency of the actions and other pertinent factors. Insubordination includes, but is not limited to, abrasive or derogatory remarks to the administrator/CEO, a fellow employee, or belligerent conduct, or refusal or failure to follow instructions, or to perform work assigned. Excessive tardiness, failure to work scheduled hours or leaving early, and excessive absenteeism. Absent without notice or acceptable explanation, failure to contact your administrator/CEO. Unexcused failure to complete a scheduled shift or scheduled overtime. Unacceptable job skills and/or work habits. Failure to follow directions. Failure to work in an amicable manner with fellow employees. Theft of TFRCH property or another employee's property. Fighting on TFRCH property. Threats of bodily injury or acts of intimidation or violence. Immoral conduct on TFRCH property. Using foul, abusive, or obscene language. Writing on, defacing, or deliberately damaging TFRCH property. Falsifying employment application. Possession of weapons, firearms, or explosives on TFRCH premises, time, business, or activity. Sabotage. Illegal entry. Misuse or inappropriate use of TFRCH property, etc. Premises, time, business or activity without authorization, employee lists, blueprints, electronics, communication tools, TFRCH records, or confidential information of any nature. Acts of gross misconduct. Unlawful harassment, including, but not limited to, sexual harassment. Punching or tampering with another employee's time card. Any employee witnessed sleeping or dozing at their assigned workstation or purposefully seeking an area for the purpose of sleeping. Dishonesty, theft, or fraud. In addition to termination, where permissible by law, the Family Residential Care Home will prosecute employees involved in violations of the law, including but not limited to employees who commit fraud or theft. Falsification of personnel or medical records. Falsification of any TFRCH documents or forms. Removal of any TFRCH property or product from TFRCH premises, time, business, or activity without management permission. Negligent or careless behavior that endangers the safety of you or others or exposes the TFRCH to security risks. Intoxication and or the possession, use, sale, distribution, or purchase of any unauthorized or illegal drugs or controlled substances, including narcotics, hallucinogens, or related paraphernalia, or alcohol, on TFRCH premises, time, business, or activity. Unauthorized use of TFRCH documents, information, or property. Conduct significantly detrimental to the interests of the TFRCH, whether or not occurring on TFRCH premises, time, business, or activity. Any other inappropriate conduct or behavior that the TFRCH considers grounds for disciplinary action. The Family Residential Care Home definition of gross misconduct includes any behavior that flagrantly and intentionally violates TFRCH policy and or the law. Acts considered gross misconduct are grounds for immediate termination. Furthermore, the TFRCH may terminate any position or reduce, reorganize or reassign personnel, job responsibilities, or hours of work for financial, operational, or other business reasons. The foregoing list is not intended to be a complete list of all matters that can result in disciplinary action, up to and including immediate termination and or that may disqualify an employee from being rehired in the future. No written set of rules covers all possible circumstances. The TFRCH has the right to take appropriate disciplinary action for misconduct not covered in this manual or in any other published written policy or rule. TFRCH property. This policy ensures that all property maintained by the Family Residential Care Home is kept in the best working condition. It also ensures proper use of such property and the Family Residential Care Home networks. Property, as the term is used in this policy, is defined as any piece of equipment, furnishing, vehicle, building, or supply leased, owned, donated, or otherwise in the custodial care of the Family Residential Care Home or any person acting as its agent. The TFRCH will furnish equipment and or tools necessary to perform your job. Each employee is reminded that all items purchased by the TFRCH are property of TFRCH. With the exception of personal property, no employee should expect privacy beyond that which is given by law. Furthermore, every employee's workspace or office is TFRCH private property and can be accessed at any time by management or otherwise. This includes contents in drawers, offices, desks, filing cabinets, and computers, etc. Use of TFRCH property. To maintain a high level of efficiency, each employee is required to always maintain a neat and orderly workspace. Any employee who neglects or misuses the family residential care home property will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. If an employee's misuse of the family residential care home property damages the property, the family residential care home reserves the right to seek reimbursement from the employee. This is to recover any costs associated with repair or replacement of the property. Misappropriation of the family residential care home property is grounds for immediate termination and criminal action. The family residential care home property, including computers, telephones, cell phones, copiers, fax machines, internet services, printers, and furnishings, is intended for business use only. Limited personal use is allowable but should be the exception, not the rule. The family residential care home reserves the right to discipline employees for excessive personal use of TFRCH property. Information, as the term is used in this policy, includes any information owned or used by the family residential care home, such as any TFRCH employee, customer, or client lists, any TFRCH database information, including addresses and telephone numbers, any information from the family residential care home employee personnel files, including employee addresses, telephone numbers, employment status, and wage history. Any photographs, videotapes, and sound clips of any of the family residential care home employee, customer, or client. No employee may knowingly disclose such information to outside parties unless authorization has been granted. This could include other employees who are not entitled to know such information. Any breach will be considered a violation of the family residential care home's policy concerning confidentiality, and it may constitute a violation of state or federal law. Monitoring of network communications. The family residential care home reserves the right to monitor any communications that use the family residential care home's networks in any way. This includes data, voicemail, telephone logs, internet use, and network traffic to determine proper use. The family residential care home may review network communications activity and analyze use patterns. The family residential care home may publish this data to ensure that TFRCH resources in these areas are used according to this policy. No employee may knowingly disable any network software or system identified as a monitoring tool. Personal appearance. Personal appearance. Dress, grooming, and personal cleanliness standards contribute to employee morale and affect the business image the family residential care home presents to customers and visitors. During business hours, employees are expected to present a clean and neat appearance and dress appropriately. If you have questions about appropriate attire, remember that vendors and outside consultants/contacts visit our facility daily. Their first impression is critical and can be influenced by the staff's appearance. In most cases, any questions can be answered by asking yourself if you are suitable for visiting an outside vendor or customer in person. The family residential care home managers may exercise reasonable discretion to determine appropriate employee dress and appearance. Employees who do not meet the dress code standards outlined in this policy may be sent home to change. Non-exempt employees will not be paid for that time. Where reasonable accommodation is requested, the TFRCH will evaluate the request and provide accommodation where required. The family residential care home's dress code is smart casual, simple yet elegant. Smart casual attire, blazers, sports jackets, dresses, sweaters, trousers, khakis, skirts, blouses, button-down shirts, polos, slacks, dress shoes, boots, heels, flats, scarves, and jewelry. Casual attire Friday/weekends. Collared shirts, short or long sleeves, casual slacks, trousers, and jeans without holes/frays, etc. Casual slip-on or tie shoes, dress sandals, or clean athletic shoes. Clothing should be clean, ironed, and in proper shape. Refrain from wearing plunging necklines, midriff-revealing crop tops, sheer fabrics, short shorts, miniskirts and dresses, tight shirts, bare midriff tops, crop tops, camouflage, halter tops, spaghetti strap tops, or bareback tops, muscle shirts. T-shirts that display obscene or otherwise offensive or inappropriate art or wording in their design. No ripped jeans or pants below the waist or hip line, construction boots, or flip-flops permitted. Visitors. All visitors must enter through the TFRCH reception area. Visitors include family members, customers, consultants, and anyone else who is not an employee of the family residential care home. The family residential care home reserves the right to deny or limit visitation privileges. Children. We understand situations arise that require employees to bring their child, REN, to work. However, these should be emergency situations only. If you need to bring your child, REN, to work, it should only be for a limited time and parents should keep them under careful supervision. Any damage caused by children on the premises will be the sole responsibility of the parent. Pets. Pets, dogs, cats, etc. are not allowed in any of the family residential care homes. Conflicts of interest. Employees have an obligation to conduct business within guidelines that prohibit actual or potential conflicts of interest. This policy establishes only the framework within which the family residential care home wishes the business to operate. The purpose of these guidelines is to provide general direction so that employees can seek further clarification on issues related to the subject of acceptable standards of operation. An actual or potential conflict of interest occurs when an employee is in a position to influence a decision that may result in a personal gain for that employee or for a relative as a result of the family residential care home business dealings. For the purpose of this policy, a relative is any person who is related by blood or marriage, or whose relationship with the employee is similar to that of persons who are related by blood or marriage. No presumption of guilt is created by the mere existence of a relationship with outside firms. However, if an employee has any influence on transactions involving purchases, contracts, or leases, it is imperative that he or she disclose to the administrator/CEO of the family residential care home as soon as possible the existence of any actual or potential conflict of interest so that safeguards can be established to protect all parties. Personal gain may result not only in cases where an employee or relative has a significant ownership in a firm with which the family residential care home does business, but also when an employee or relative receives any kickback, bribe, substantial gift, or special consideration as a result of any transaction or business dealing involving the family residential care home. The materials, products, designs, plans, ideas, and data of the family residential care home are the property of the family residential care home and should never be given to an outside firm or individual except through normal channels and with appropriate authorization. Any improper transfer of material or disclosure of information, even though it is not apparent that an employee has personally gained by such action, constitutes unacceptable conduct. Any employee who participates in such a practice will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including possible termination of employment. Dating policy. The family residential care home expects employees to maintain professionalism at all times. Personal relationships at work can lead to potential liabilities for a TFRCH. These liabilities include complaints of favoritism, potential or actual conflicts of interest, unprofessional or disruptive conduct in the workplace, and possible claims of sexual harassment. Due to these potential threats, the family residential care home prohibits romantic relationships between manager and subordinates. TFRCH defines a romantic relationship as any form of dating and/or sexual contact within or outside normal business hours. Security and inspection. To help assure a safe, healthy, and productive work environment and to combat employee theft and the possession or use of unauthorized or illegal drugs or substances in the workplace, the family residential care home reserves the right to carry out reasonable searches of individuals and their personal effects as they enter or leave the family residential care home premises. Such searches may be initiated by the family residential care home without prior announcement and will be conducted at such times and locations as deemed appropriate. Any property of TFRCH, such as desks, cabinets, etc., are provided by TFRCH merely for the convenience of its employees and remain the sole property of TFRCH. solicitations, distributions, and posting. In no event shall non-associates be permitted to solicit or to post or distribute any materials on the premises of the TFRCH, except for charitable solicitations pre-approved by the administrator/CEO or his designee. Unless approved in writing in advance by the administrator/CEO, associates shall not solicit memberships or subscriptions for any public or private enterprise, nor shall they post or distribute handbills or other printed matter, or sell any article or solicit, collect or accept money, pledges, memberships, subscriptions or admissions for any public or private organization or enterprise, or for loans, gifts or purchases or any nature, during the working time of any involved personnel. Working time does not include lunch periods or other times when the employee is not on duty. Distribution of literature or materials in work areas is prohibited at any time without the administrator/CEO's prior written approval. All approved solicitations shall be coordinated with the administrator/CEO. Items to be placed on any bulletin board or otherwise posted on TFRCH property must also be approved by the administrator/CEO or his designee. Drug and alcohol-free workplace. The Family Residential Care Home is committed to maintaining a work environment free of unsafe or unsatisfactory impairment or influence of alcohol or drugs. In addition, it is free of the unauthorized or unlawful possession, use or disposition of alcohol, drugs, or other controlled substances. Thus, the unauthorized possession, use, distribution, or purchase, or solicitation of purchase or sale of alcohol or of any intoxicant, hallucinogen, narcotic, or other controlled drug or substance, or related paraphernalia, or being under the influence of any such drug or substance on the TFRCH's property, including any vehicle owned or supplied by the TFRCH, or while on the TFRCH's time, business, or activity, is absolutely prohibited. A violation of this policy will result in severe disciplinary action, including prohibition from volunteer service or discharge from employment. The immediately preceding paragraph does not apply to medication used in the manner, combination, and dosage lawfully and properly prescribed by a licensed medical practitioner, and possessed or taken only by the person for whom the medication is prescribed, provided the use of such medication does not substantially impair work performance or threaten the health or safety of the employee taking the medication, or of other persons. The TFRCH recognizes alcohol and drug abuse and dependence as a major health problem and a potentially serious safety and security concern. In order to enforce its drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, the TFRCH reserves the right to conduct appropriate surveillance, searches, and monitoring of persons and properties on the TFRCH's property, or operating or located in any motor vehicle owned or supplied by the TFRCH or while on the TFRCH's time, business, or activity, and to require pre-employment testing of job applicants and testing of employees for reasonable cause or at other appropriate times or at random in order to enforce its drug and alcohol-free workplace policy. Any employee failing to cooperate with respect to any such surveillance, search, monitoring, or testing will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including discharge from employment. The TFRCH will comply with any federal or state law concerning work-related alcohol/drug prevention or control to the extent any such legal requirement is applicable to the TFRCH's operations. The TFRCH wants a drug and alcohol-free, safe work environment. We earnestly seek and expect our employees' cooperation in achieving that objective for our mutual benefit and protection. Smoking. The Family Residential Care Home recognizes that smoking is a personal choice for each employee. To consider all employees and fire safety, the following guidelines have been established. Smoking is prohibited inside all TFRCH buildings/structures. This includes offices, restrooms, break rooms, kitchen areas, bedrooms, staging areas, and all other areas except designated smoking areas, where such areas are permitted by law. This policy has been established for everyone's benefit, convenience, and protection. Violation of this policy may result in disciplinary action. Public relations disclosure. The family residential care home needs to present consistent and accurate information when dealing with the public or the press. Unfortunately, even well-intentioned comments regarding the family residential care home plans, products, customers, facilities, or even disputes can harm the family residential care home if presented improperly or taken out of context. To help prevent these situations, all comments to the press must first be approved by the administrator/CEO. Leaving the family residential care home. Resignations. Employees are encouraged to give proper written notice of 2 weeks for voluntary resignations. Employees who voluntarily leave T4CH are encouraged to participate in an exit interview. This interview will provide T4CH with an understanding of the reason for the resignation. It will also provide helpful information for reducing turnover and improving morale. Employees will be contacted by Human Resources prior to their last day of employment to schedule an exit interview. Return of T4CH property. Employees are responsible for all property, materials, or written information issued to them or in their possession or control. Employees must return all the family residential care home property immediately upon request or upon termination of employment. Where permitted by applicable laws, the family residential care home may withhold from the employee's final paycheck the cost of any items that are not returned when required. T4CH security products may also take all action deemed appropriate to recover or protect its property. Employee acknowledgement. Employee acknowledgement for the Family Residential Care Home Manual. This is to acknowledge that I have received a copy of the employee manual for the family residential care home. I understand it is my responsibility to read, consult, and follow the manual. If I have questions concerning information in the manual, I will bring them to the attention of my administrator/CO or Human Resources. I understand that this manual is for informational purposes only, and that it is a guide for employees concerning their responsibilities to the family residential care home, its employees, and others, and regarding pertinent the family residential care home benefits and other employment-related matters. I further understand that this manual is not all-inclusive, and that the family residential care home may revise, eliminate, or supplement any of the matters set forth in the manual, or any other employment terms or conditions, with or without notice, although prior notice of important changes generally will be given. I also acknowledge that employment with the family residential care home is at will, and no part of this manual, or of any other document or communication, creates or implies any kind of employment contract or promise, or prevents their termination of any employment relationship by the family residential care home or by the employee, at any time or for any reason, with or without notice, unless otherwise required by law. I realize that no official, administrator, or representative of the family residential care home has the authority to enter into any agreement on behalf of the family residential care home for any employment for a specified period, or for any other specific terms or conditions of employment, unless such actions are taken in writing, properly authorized by the administrator/CO.